Good morning, students. I welcome you all for the online classes of economics. Myself, Padmasha Reddy. Hope your health is good and fine, and we can do together the learning of our subject. As we have already learned before the vacations, two chapters of macroeconomics. Now I am going to continue with the third chapter of macroeconomics only. We will be later learning about the Indian economy. Now we will continue with the macroeconomics chapter only, that is money and banking. Money. You all know about the money. You also using the money, and you know the importance of money also. But still we will be going to learn this chapter, that is money and banking. You know these works are correlated, that is money where from where it comes from the bank, because bank is the person who generates the money, and the bank which generates the money is the Reserve Bank of India. Now we will be going to learn about money and banking and some of the features and some functions which they are doing and how much importance they are having in the life of the human beings. Let us start the chapter money with the meaning and importance of money. Money is a commonly accepted medium of exchange. In an economy which consists of only one individual, there cannot be any exchange of commodities, and hence there is no role for money. The line is clear to us that it states that if any one person is there, then definitely there is no role of money, because one individual, whatever thing is around him or her, they can fulfill with the things. They do not require any exchange of things for money. Secondly, if more than one individual is also there and they can exchange the things with their mutual understandings, there is no role of money. But when we talk that there are more than 2 and 3 agents or sellers or vendors, definitely one medium of exchange is required, and that medium of exchange of thing is money. So that is the money what we were having. The value of commodities can be measured with an exchange term, that is money. Even if there is more than one individual, but these individuals do not take part in market transactions, example, family living on an isolated land, money has no function for them. However, as soon as there is more than one economic agent who engage themselves in transactions through the market, money becomes an important instrument for facilitating these exchanges. Economic exchanges without the mediation of money are referred to as barter exchange. I think many of the students are remembering the word barter system. Barter exchange or barter system was that system which prevailed during the early man period, and this system only later converted into money transaction. Barter system was the first way or mode of exchange of things between or more than two persons. Barter system, you if you know the meaning, or if you don't know also, the system in which one person exchange the goods with another person with the term in the terms of goods only, that system was considered as barter system. That time the people were having mutual understanding that one person require rice, another requires the shoes. They can exchange if they both have the requirement of both the things, then only they can exchange. That system was considered as barter system. So barter exchange was prevailed during the early man period. That only we will be starting with our chapter, so that we can understand later when the money came. However, they presume the rather improbable double coincidence of wants. I already explained you the meaning of double coincidence of wants. If one person required the rice and the another requires the shoes, and both the person met together, then only they can have an exchange. If the second person don't require the rice, we cannot exchange them with him the shoes. So that is the thing prevailed during the barter system. Consider, for example, one more example we can take. An individual who had a surplus of rice which she wishes to exchange for clothing. If she is not lucky enough, she may not be able to find another person who has the diametrically opposite demand for rice with a surplus of clothing to offer in exchange. I think the example is more clear to you. That one girl is there who requires the cloth and she is having the rice. She had to search that person who will be having the cloth and is requirement of rice. Then only she can make the exchange. Otherwise, she have to be unlucky. The search cost may become prohibitive as the number of individuals increases. Thus, to smoothen the transaction, an intermediate good is necessary which is acceptable to both parties. Such a good is called money. The individuals can then sell their producers for money and use this money to purchase the commodities they need. So that give the birth to money. Barter system prevailed, but in barter system, coincidence of wants got importance. If suddenly the population increase, definitely there will be a problem to such a person who is having a coincidence of wants what we are having. So because of that, the new idea came that whatever production is done by the person, it must be sold in terms of money, and then with that money the person can fulfill their desire and need what they are having. So that time the money had taken place and replaced the barter system. Now we will be going to learn the functions of money. As explained above, the first and foremost role of money is that it acts as a medium of exchange. Barter exchanges become extremely difficult in a large economy because of the high cost people would have to incur looking for suitable person to exchange their surpluses. Money also acts as a convenient unit of account. The value of all goods and services can be expressed in monetary units. When we say that the value of a certain wristwatch is rupees 500, we mean that the wristwatch can be exchanged for 500 units of money, where a unit of money is rupee in this case. If the price of a pencil is rupees 2 and that of pen is rupees 10, we can calculate the relative price of a pen with respect to a pencil, which a pencil is worth 10 divided by 2 equals to 5 pencils. This particular paragraph tells us that how many pencils we can purchase in the cost of pen. It can be easily be known and calculated when we are knowing or having the worth of a money. So worth of a money we have to remember and we must able to calculate so that we can relate the things and we can understand at this particular price what all things can be purchased and in what quantity. So this was the function of one of the function of money. The same notion can be used to calculate the value of money itself with respect to other commodities. In the above example, a rupee is worth 1 divided by 2, that is 0.5 pencil, or 1 divided by 10 equals to 0.1 pen. Thus, if prices of all commodities increase in terms of money, that is, there is a general increase in the price level, the value of money in terms of any commodity must have decreased. In the sense that a unit of money can now purchase less of any commodity, we call it a deterioration in the purchasing power of money. So the second function of money is that whenever the fluctuation is there, whenever the prices of the goods goes up and or goes down, it tells us what the purchasing capacity or the demand of the goods, how it goes up and down, and what creates situation that at that time it creates, that can be known, and retraction in the purchasing power of money can be known if the prices goes up and the value of the goods goes down. If barter system has other deficiencies, it is difficult to carry forward one's wealth under the barter system. Suppose you have an endowment of rice which you do not wish to consume today entirely. You may regard this stock of surplus rice as an asset which you may wish to consume or even sell off for acquiring other commodities at some future date. But rice is a perishable item and cannot be stored beyond a certain period. Also, holding the stock of rice requires a lot of space. You may have to spend considerable time and resources looking for people with demand for rice when you wish to exchange your stock for buying other commodities. This problem can be solved if you sell your rice for money. Money is not perishable and its storage costs are also considerably lower. It is also acceptable to anyone at any point of time. Thus, money can act as a store of value for individuals. Up to this, it has been explained there, though barter system prevailed that time and it got importance, but the thing was that under barter system, it became very difficult to maintain a stock of goods. It can happen that whatever exchange we have did, it can be lost soon because the precautions can't, if precaution is not measured for the taken for preserving the goods, so it can be a big loss to the person. This stock of surplus rice has an asset which that has been explained to consume, even sell off for acquiring other commodities. So it has been said if more of rice we have exchanged in the barter system, that can be, if we can't keep it safe, then there must be an option to sell off that excess rice so that we can get the money and we can purchase some other goods which we want in our life. That way it can be balanced and the excess thing can be saved from getting damaged. So that only has been explained there. Because of that also barter system had got less importance and money system had got importance. This problem can be solved if you sell your rice for money. I think the point is clear. Where if the rice is a perishable, rice is a perishable item. If we will not use it properly and within a given period of time, it can get damaged. So if we want to save it, we can do one option is there, that we can sell off the excess rice and can get the money. And this money can be stored for a longer period of time and can be helpful for purchasing other goods in the market which we require. So money is not perishable and its storage costs are also considered lower. It is also acceptable to anyone at any point of time. Thus money can act as a store of value for individuals. Wealth can be stored in the form of money for future use. However, to perform this function well, the value of money must be sufficiently stable. A rising price level may erode the purchasing power of money. It is definitely when the price level goes up of the commodities, it can decrease the purchasing power of money. It may be a landed property. It may be noted that any asset other than money can also act as a store of value. Example, gold, landed property. Houses or even bonds to be introduced shortly. However, they may not be easily convertible to other commodities and do not have universal acceptability. Some countries have made an attempt to move towards an economy which use less of cash and more of digital transaction. Now, India also is one of the country which is making much more use of digital transaction instead of cash. A cashless society describes an economic state whereby financial transactions are not connected with money in the form of physical bank notes or coins, but rather through the transfer of digital information, usually an electronic representation of money, between the transacting parties. In India, government has been consistently investing in various reforms for greater financial inclusion. During the last few years, initiatives such as Jan Dhan accounts, Aadhaar enabled payment system, e-wallets, national financial switch, and others have strengthened the government resolve to go cashless. Today, financial inclusion is seen as a realistic dream because of mobile and smartphone penetration across the country. So, we can understand that money has been changed and its role has been changed in different forms, and now our country is also become digital money system, and because of that many of the transaction can be done fairly and it can give more importance to money. So that was the beginning of the chapter money, with the meaning of money and importance of money. Now in the next class we will be going to learn demand for money and supply of money. Thank you.